Now, interestingly, the distance used to be 1,000 feet from the property line. And you might know this, Nigel, from working in the city. But I think somebody figured out that in the city of Lebanon, almost every location was within 1,000 feet of the property line of a school. And well, and I've had many situations over the years where I had a 19-year-old kid come through the system, very first time he was ever in trouble, and he sold marijuana to an undercover police officer, and he was 787 feet from the property line of the nearest school, and it was just what I described. It was like midnight in the middle of July, school isn't in session, it's two adults, and years ago I thought that was ridiculous. I thought, really? So I refused to give him the 2 years. Well, I got reversed by the Superior Court. The Superior Court said, well, you know, Judge Tylwalk, you don't get to make this call. It was 787 feet. It was within the 1,000 feet. We don't care if it was the middle of July at 11 o'clock at night and it was two adults and there were no kids around. We don't care. The law is the law. So I learned my lesson, and I've imposed that sentence in other cases. But some of those kinds of things from a judicial standpoint, I believe should be left to us. I mean, you folks, maybe some of you actually voted for me starting in 1991, I don't know, but I've been elected by the citizens of Lebanon County 3 times. And I think that was on a show of faith, that people who knew me or knew of me felt like they were getting a person that had some common sense, maybe some intelligence, that would apply the law in a fair, just manner. And I think most judges in Pennsylvania are elected with that kind of thought. And mandatory sentencing is one of those areas that I believe should be left to us. It should be left to us judges. The district attorney's office, and I've said this to Dave Arnold, so I'm being recorded, I'm not speaking out of school here. I've told him I don't believe the district attorney should control that kind of situation. Historically, the sentence that an individual, a convicted individual, receives is up to the judge, not to the district attorney, and no offense to the folks in Harrisburg, but not to the legislators. It's not their decision to pass a law that says, okay, within 250 feet, we don't think you judges are being tough enough, so you have to do this. I mean, I disagree with that. I mean, that should be part of my function. That should be part of, I think, the trust relationship between myself and the voters. So,
2 questions.
Go ahead.
Number 1, how many same-sex marriages have been performed in Lebanon County? And number 2, are we still on track for a veterans court or not? Okay, well, the answer to the first question is I know that we're in double figures anyway. I think we're somewhere between 10 and 20 at this point, same-sex marriages. Veterans Court is a very interesting issue. We have had some planning meetings of the stakeholders, if you will, in developing an actual Veterans Court here in Lebanon County. Veterans courts nationwide are courts established within the criminal justice system to really provide an alternative treatment modem, I'll say, for designated veterans who are found to meet the criteria of that program. They have to have the appropriate kind of discharge from the military. It could not be a dishonorable discharge. And they have to be suffering from some psychologically related problem. Usually it's PTSD, but there are others that have been designated. And in partnership with local courts, then the VA hospital will take on the burden of providing all of the treatment, all of the counseling, all of the services that that veteran needs. Now, what we have found here in Lebanon County in our initial planning and looking at the numbers is that we believe internally we do not have a group of veterans who are not having their needs met by the VA hospital. We have a tremendous relationship, the court system does, with the Lebanon VA Medical Center. Julie Bergstresser is the liaison, the court liaison from the VA with the courts. I just got an email from her yesterday about an individual coming through the system. And our concern is that if we set up a separate Veterans Court bureaucracy, we would be drawing people from DUI court and potentially drawing people from Renaissance Crossroads. where I wouldn't feel there was a need to do that. I believe those folks, right now we have 10 veterans in DUI court. Now, not all of them would necessarily be designated for a veterans court treatment. And we believe that those folks are receiving the kind of aid, assistance, counseling that they need, and they would get in the VA system within our DUI court. The same is true with Renaissance Crossroads. I think we have, of the 18 folks there, I think 3 folks there are veterans, and they are actually on the grounds of the VA Medical Center, ironically. And I don't see that they would be getting a different kind of service. And actually, I told Julie not a month ago when we met about this precise issue, I said, look, if you can identify a veteran that you believe here in Lebanon County is not receiving the appropriate services and the appropriate attention as they come through the criminal justice system, you need to let me know, because we will make sure that happens. Now, the one aspect of veterans court programs that we don't duplicate for the general person that comes through the court system is the traditional veterans court have a mentorship program where a veteran serves as a direct mentor. It's almost like a sponsor in AA. And the other thing that happens is that those folks in veterans court, as are folks in DUI court, each month come back into court for their case to be reviewed. Now, you folks should understand, I'm the DUI court judge, okay? So every Tuesday morning, today is an exception, every Tuesday morning I'm doing something for our DUI court here in Lebanon County. I'm either in a DUI court team meeting, which includes all of the people that are involved, probation, service providers, the Commission on Drug and Alcohol, our DUI court coordinator, or I am in court actually reviewing the cases for each of those individuals. So everybody sentenced to DUI court on a monthly basis has their case reviewed by the treatment team and then appears before me in court. And I get to say to those folks, hey, you're doing a great job. You know, you're getting through counseling appropriately, you've got a job, you're paying, you're doing a great job. Or I say, hey, look, you know, you really need to step to the plate here. You know, you missed an AA meeting, or you missed another type of counseling session, or you didn't pay this month. You really need to get with the program. Now, evidence-based practices being what they are, they tell you that if you have that kind of program where people come into court and they actually meet with the judge after they're sentenced, and they spend as little as 3 minutes each time with the judge, they are like 85% less likely to recidivate, to commit a crime again. And I can tell you from a personal standpoint, I get invested in these folks in DUI court. I mean, when someone fails, I feel really bad. And I've often said to Sally Barrett, hey, if it's so good for these people in DUI court, why don't we do that for everybody? All 1,800 people we have on supervision, why don't we bring them in each month? Well, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. But anyway, a long answer to a short question. That's what's going on with Veterans Court. We're still looking at it, but I just don't know if we have an unserviced need there.
What's the status of Bradley Martin and Carolyn King? I think that was brought back to the Lebanon court at one point for
Yeah,
them.
well, actually, both of those cases are back. I don't know if you folks are aware of those circumstances. Martin and King were convicted of a homicide, killing a man who was a florist in Palmyra in a rather gruesome way. They then went out west and killed an individual out west, kind of went on a manhunt. It's been on investigation, discovery 2020, those kinds of things. They were convicted here in Lebanon County. They received the death penalty. They are both back again, not in the guilt phase, not did they commit the crime, but the penalty phase. And the appellate court determined that we did not provide adequate resources for the defense attorneys to investigate the background of those individuals so that the jury could make a reasoned determination as to whether or not the death penalty was the appropriate penalty. So both of those cases are back. There's just an article in the newspaper about Bradley Martin because there was a meeting last week. Judge Eby, who serves as a senior judge in certain cases for us, is still overseeing that case. And we have a visiting judge that's in on the Carolyn King case. But both of those cases are still active. They are, again, penalty phase cases, though. Their guilt was not overturned, just the penalty. And so, but I can tell you that's an expensive proposition. I oversaw the Freeman May case. Now, Mr. May, 3 weeks ago, was sentenced to life in prison because he's now incompetent. But when we had the retrial for just the penalty phase of the Freeman May case, it cost we taxpayers, including me, $100,000 to have that retrial. Yeah, so you're talking about significant assets for a few cases, but that's what's going on with those cases. You're pulling the hook?
Yes, I'm so
Okay.
sorry, Your Honor.
No, that's fine.
But, you
I
know,
could talk for a long time. trust
And
me.
you have been so informative. We cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Anytime. Anyone else ever has a question, just give me a buzz, drop me a line.